I'm going to call the meeting to order. Good evening and welcome to the November 2017 meeting of the Hoboken Board of Education. Mr. Moffett, will you read the statement of compliance, please?
Yes, sir. This meeting is being held in conformity to the Open Public Meeting Act. Proper public notice of the meeting was published in the local papers on November 11, 2017 and November 12, 2017. If any board member or member of the public in attendance believes that this meeting is in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act, the Hoboken Board of Education requests that they make a statement at this time. The board wishes to make those in attendance aware that this meeting is being recorded on video and will be broadcast by the board at a later date on cable television channel 77 and FiOS channel 46. The full meeting recording will also be made available on board docs, which can be accessed through the district's homepage. The Hoboken Board of Education is committed to preserving the decorum of the public process and is mindful that we live in an electronic age of computers, cell phones, and other electronic communication devices. Nevertheless, we respectfully request that all meeting participants kindly silence their electronic devices during the course of the meeting, and if use of the device is necessary, we ask that you please leave the meeting room if you need to conduct personal business. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And now we have the salute to the flag. And tonight I have a volunteer, Mr. Jake Ellis.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jake. And the roll call, please, Mr. Moffett.
Ms. Angley?
Here.
Ms. Delara?
Here.
Ms. Evans?
Here.
Mr. Madigan?
Here.
Mr. McNamara?
Here.
Ms. Sobolov?
Here.
And Mr. Kleffeld.
Here. Just so the board knows, I'm told that we have a need for an executive session tonight to discuss a pending legal matter. There will be no action taken as a result of that meeting, so we'll save that to the end and allow members of the public to leave. We'll come back after that simply to adjourn. So that's the last thing we'll do. The first thing we do tonight, as always, is the recognitions of the Students of the Month. Mr. Fitzhugh.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Our Student of the Month recipient for the month of October from the Brant Primary School, Truman Pimsner. Are you excited? We're excited to have you this evening. Nominated by Ms. Cuba, Truman was nominated because he has so many character traits that set him apart. The one that really stands out is his perseverance. He's a very hard worker, laser-like focused, and always completing his work, even on those moments when the task might seem too difficult to complete. He just will not give up. Adult quote, I have known President Truman, as I affectionately refer to him, since he was in our preschool program. He's become confident and self-assured. He is very aware of his feelings of others, as well as always ready to lend a helping hand or offer a word of support. He is not afraid to try new things and just will not give up. He is always much more aware of how to stay safe and how to keep others safe as well. This comes from Principal Rodriguez Gomez. Student achievements. He is an overall outstanding student. His attendance is exemplary, and he understands the importance of attending school daily. He is well on his way to a leadership role, and that is why we have bestowed upon him the title of President Truman. He will do great things. I think that's great. What makes this student an asset? The qualities that make him an asset are that he is kind, considerate, helpful, thoughtful, and smart beyond his years. Truman has shared that he is not quite sure regarding what his future career goals will be, but wants all to know that he is a transportation buff. He loves boats, buses, and trains. He thinks he might want to begin by driving one of these and then transition to operating his own farm. Student quote, per Truman, I'm excited to be able to attend the board meeting. I haven't attended since last September. I like that they call my name and give me a certificate. I want to be a little famous. Well, you are this evening. Congratulations, Truman. Our student of the month for the month of October from Calabro Elementary School is Ariana Marin. How are you? Are you excited? All right. Ariana is an exceptional student who is always striving to do better. She's an amazing role model for her class and for the Calabro community. She's considerate, trustworthy, thoughtful, unselfish, and always willing to help anyone when needed. If Ariana puts her mind to something, we have no doubt that she will always succeed at it. It is my honor to nominate Ariana for District Student of the Month. That quote comes from your principal. He also states that Ariana's can-do attitude is infectious. Her daily approach to be herself serves as the model for all of us. She's a joy to have at Calabro each and every single day. Ariana quotes, when educating the minds of youth, we must not forget to educate their hearts. I like that quote. Mrs. Zayas, the grade 6 teacher, states that you have been at Calabro since kindergarten. Ariana enjoys making videos and having fun with her friends. In the future, Ariana wants to become a veterinarian and help animals in need. Ariana loves animals and will do anything to help animals who are suffering. Congratulations, Ariana, on being awarded this special honor. At this time, let's give a big round of applause for Ariana this evening. Congratulations. Wait a minute, I'm gonna give you the award. The Thomas G. Connors Elementary School Student of the Month recipient for the month of October, Annabelle Welch. Are you excited? We're really proud of you. Annabelle is a kindergarten student at T.G. Connors Elementary School. She was nominated by Ms. Farrell for the Student of the Month honor because of her hard work and efforts in class. Annabelle demonstrates that she is a hardworking and enthusiastic student. Annabelle is also kind, helpful, and respectful of her peers and a role model in class. She's an asset to our school community and the student body because she shows extreme maturity and attentiveness that is advanced for her grade level. Annabelle stated that her favorite subject in school is mathematics. I was a math teacher, Annabelle. I love math. She enjoys playing on the monkey bars with her friends and also playing with her little sister at the park. Annabelle likes to create pictures and wants to be an artist when she grows up. Her mother taught her how to draw, and she loves to paint pictures of umbrellas and dogs. You can often hear Annabelle singing "Let It Go" from her favorite movie, Frozen. Dr. Pollins is extremely proud of Annabelle and her accomplishments. Dr. Pollins thinks of the following phrase when she thinks of Annabelle: "You are someone's reason to smile." Annabelle always greets Dr. Pollins with a smile and a wave when she comes to visit her classroom. Congratulations, Annabelle, on receiving this honor. We're so proud of you. Wait a minute. The Wallace recipient of Student of the Month for the month of October is Jake Ellis. The Wallace School Student of the Month is Jake Ellis, a second grade student in Mrs. Schickman's class. He was nominated for being an exceptional student and an awesome individual. Jake comes to class prepared and eager to learn every day. He is actively engaged during daily lessons and collaborates well with his peers. He is respectful towards students and the staff at Wallace School. Jake is compassionate, a natural leader, a problem solver, and a peacekeeper. According to Mrs. Schickman, Jake truly cares about his school, his friends, and his community. Vice Principal Bartlett said, Jake is a fantastic gentleman. He has that kind of personality that other people gravitate towards. With his determination to do great things the right way all the time, he is destined for great things. Principal Shannon echoed the same sentiment, saying, Jake reminds me of the most successful young men I've had the pleasure of coaching in athletics over the course of my career in education. He excels as an athlete and a scholar. It is easy to see he will use his skills and talents to elevate those around him. Jake was nominated this year in Mrs. Schickman's class as Peace Pal and Student of the Week. He was also previously a grade level Student of the Month in Ms. Galario's first grade class. He was a Brand Buddy in Pre-K 3 and Pre-K 4. Jake is a great big brother, especially during tougher times. He even is the assistant coach to his little brother's soccer team. Oh, that's awesome. Jacob's personal hobbies include skateboarding, playing basketball, and playing football. His favorite basketball team is the Golden State Warriors. Jake loves playing Legos with his brother. He loves art with Ms. Basilino, and currently, Jake's favorite song is Believer by Imagine Dragons. Jake's dream is to be a professional basketball player in the NBA. As a natural leader, Jake gives the advice, every day, work hard and try your best. Congratulations, Mr. Jake Ellis, the Wallace Elementary School Student of the Month for October. And this is the award. We'll have time for pictures as well after as well. So we'll make sure we get all those great pictures for Facebook. You're welcome. The Hoboken Middle School October Student of the Month, Sanjane Samurai. The Hoboken Middle School Student of the Month for October is Sanjane Samurai. Sanjane is recommended by her English language arts teacher, Ms. Donnelly. She is nominated because of her outstanding attitude, attendance, academic achievement, cooperation, leadership, empathy towards others. She's a quintessential student. She's inquisitive, cooperative, and demonstrates a positive attitude each and every single day. Additionally, Sanjane is a leader in class and in the building at large. She always has a smile on her face and a hello for her teachers and peers. Ms. Donnelly used the following quote to describe you. You can learn something new every day. You're always thirsting for knowledge and expand your horizons, and this quote makes Ms. Donnelly think of you because of the fact that she exemplifies the true definition of a learner. That is awesome. Your principal, Dr. Davis, used the following quote. I will keep smiling, being positive, and never give up. I will give 100% each time I play. These are always my goals and attitude. Dr. Davis continues by stating that she's had several opportunities to observe her in different settings throughout the school day. I've noticed the impact is contagious and has a positive attitude. The current achievements is being a part of the Hoboken Middle School Chorus and a recent performance at the Hoboken Middle School School Spirit Day and receiving a recognition on her essay for Respect Week. That is actually awesome. Let's give a big round of applause for that. We're almost done. I just like that one part. Yeah, I just like that one part. Your personal hobbies include swimming, reading, singing, cooking. She loves to experiment with different kinds of pastas and sauces. Your favorite subject is English language arts, science, and mathematics. Her sports interests are swimming, lacrosse, and tennis. When asked a quote which describes herself, she said, "Reach for the stars." When asked about a quote which describes the school, you stated Tiger. Tiger pride is alive and well at HMS. Hoboken Middle School is so proud of you and your accomplishments. She exhibits the true essence of a Hoboken Middle School Tiger pride: perseverance, respect, integrity, dedication, excellence. Congratulations on this well-deserved award. Congratulations. Don't leave. Our Hoboken Middle School Student of the Month for October, Kiana Santiago. And I apologize, Hoboken High School. Ms. Munoz said that Kiana is a motivated young woman who goes above and beyond in and out of the classroom. She has emerged as a student leader. She is helpful, kind, supportive to her classmates. She has become a driving force in our 21st century cultural literacy class and has progressed in the Inspire Classroom projects as well. Kiana is a member of the varsity volleyball team, Hispanic Cultural Club, Harvard Model Congress, a writer for the school newspaper, and your hobbies include babysitting and reading. Principal Pietra stated, "When Kiana's parents told me she wanted to leave County Prep to come to Hoboken High School, I was thrilled. Kiana is the student that you want at your high school. She's an academic and athletic student. Her height has really served our volley team well this year." Yeah. "But her performance in the classroom is what is truly noteworthy with grades in the 90s. That is a job well done. Most recently, I've observed a class that Kiana was in, and she stuck out as a leader with her class. She not only led her own group, but was offering assistance to others, which is why I think she will shine as part of our Harvard Model Congress. She has a keen sense of humor and an awareness about her that gives me great hopes for her future. Thanks for coming back to us, Kiana." Kiana's post-secondary plans include applying to Penn State, Florida International, and the University of South Carolina to study international business. When notified about the award, Kiana said, "I'm so excited to be nominated by my teachers to win this award. I would like to thank Ms. Munoz for noticing my potential and inspiring me." Congratulations, Kiana, on receiving this honor. We have one more recognition that we'd like to do from September. Axel Holtstrom from Calabria Elementary. Axel is an outstanding student who is well deserving of this recognition. Axel is part of our gifted and talented program and has been a member of Calabria's string program and chorus. In the classroom, Axel always strives to set goals and conquer new challenges. He inspires his classmates to be the best versions of themselves. Axel loves to read and incorporate technology into learning. He is a role model to his peers, and his humor and charm are qualities that cannot be overlooked. In the 4th grade homeroom, Axel has come to be known as Mr. Nationwide because of his love of traveling and exploring new places. He hopes to continue traveling and learning for the rest of his life. Outside of school, Axel plays hockey and tennis. When Axel grows up, he dreams of becoming a plastic surgeon and living happily. Mrs. Terhune quotes, "At the beginning of the school year, my students created Google Slides to share things about them we may not know. Axel loves sharing his love for traveling early on, and I couldn't help to think about his love for traveling tying into his love for learning. He's a kind of student that never gives up. He perseveres even when something seems challenging, and I think that is in part due to his traveling. There were no true words spoken that exemplifies who Axel is as a person and as a student than those of Walt Disney. All our dreams can come true, if we have the courage to pursue them. Axel does have the courage to pursue all his dreams, and I know he will never stop striving for greatness. Dr. Vespignani, your principal, quotes, "When you think of the qualities you look for in a student of the month, Axel has all the attributes of his tremendous recognition. His commitment to learning day in and day out are noteworthy. It is clear that Axel takes his education seriously while also enjoying the learning process." Axel quotes, "Education is the most powerful tool we can use to change the world." Congratulations, Axel, obtaining your honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzhugh. Dr. Johnson, we have another recognition?
We do. We have one more recognition tonight. It's the special recognition of one of our staff members. Every day in our schools, connections are made between and among staff members and students. In addition to the wonderful contributions that our students continuously make, the Hoboken Public School staff also goes above and beyond. Tonight, the administration wanted to take a moment to publicly recognize Mr. Kevin Metcalf. Mr. Metcalf is a teacher at the Thomas G. Connors Elementary School. He is also one of the graduate students in our district's cohort through Montclair State University. Mr. Metcalf is a Project Lead the Way science teacher at Thomas G. Connors, and while his contributions to the district date back over many years through his teaching and also his coaching in the school district, his efforts this summer really can't go unrecognized for much longer. That's why we brought him here this evening. Over the summer months and into the start of the school year, Mr. Metcalf spent countless hours organizing all of the Project Lead the Way supplies that came in for every single school. Now, many people might not realize that that's actually a tremendous task. You think that supplies come in and there's boxes and a few books, but with Project Lead the Way there are thousands of pieces and they come in hundreds of boxes. Mr. Metcalf spent countless hours going through every single box and organizing the materials for all the schools, and then also so that every single teacher would have those supplies for the units of study that were coming up. In addition to that, Mr. Metcalf also participated in curriculum development for Project Lead the Way, and most importantly, he put training materials and binders together for the teachers who were going to be teaching Project Lead the Way for the first time in the fall. And so with that, he extended his leadership as well, and he took those training materials and presented some small group workshops for teachers at the start of the school year as well. But it's interesting because Mr. Metcalf's desire and passion in the district doesn't seem to stop there. It's somewhat endless. He took it a step further, and Mr. Metcalf also owned the Hoboken Public Education Foundation's initiative for the Trout in the Classroom project. Interestingly enough, Mr. Metcalf spent hours, many days after school, getting the tanks and the stands ready and set up for the Division of Fish and Wildlife delivery of the eggs for the Trout in the Classroom project. If it wasn't for Mr. Metcalf, I'm not sure if we would have been ready to receive that particular delivery for all of our schools. Along with the assistance from his colleagues, Mr. Metcalf also ensured that the Project Lead the Way program and the curriculum is being introduced a little bit more publicly. A couple weeks ago, Mr. Metcalf and some of his colleagues at Connors did a joint project between Project Lead the Way and the Passport to Learning program. They designed small activities to introduce parents at the Connors Elementary School to the Project Lead the Way program when they were coming to pick their children up from the Passport to Learning program. So that was organized and designed by Mr. Metcalf and his colleagues at Connors. So we can't thank you enough for that. At this time, we don't typically recognize our staff members. We always have Students of the Month, but one of the things we realized after the work put forward by Mr. Metcalf is that we have endless examples of teachers throughout the district that are continuously doing this. So we're hoping that this is going to be the start of a new tradition, that as we continue to honor our Students of the Month, that we will also recognize our staff members who go above and beyond the responsibilities and the daily requirements of teaching to help and assist both our students and our families. So with that being said, I hope that everyone could stand up and give Mr. Metcalf a round of applause and a hearty thank you.
First and foremost, thank you. It's a great feeling to know that, you know, what you take passion in is getting recognized. 14 years I've been in the district, and I always feel that, you know, each day I have to push myself a little bit harder. I had great role models from every administrator to board members who also I've worked hands-on with, but most importantly, my students. My students really drive me to go above and beyond. One thing I always tell them is that, you know, you want to push yourself. You don't want to stop. You want your future to be bright. If it wasn't for them, pretty much I wouldn't have that drive. It's my job. I'm here every day, and that's the way I look at it. But thank you for feeling that I did go above and beyond. I'm honored to be, you know, recognized for that, and thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes recognitions. I'm going to suggest a little 3 or 5 minute recess, give children a chance to leave before we resume with the business of the board meeting tonight. So thank you, everyone. All right, we'll resume the meeting now. The next items on the agenda are the reports to the board, starting with the superintendent's report, please.
Okay, so in addition to the student recognitions and the recognition of Mr. Metcalf, I'd also like to share a few other things with the board. At this time in the school year, we're beginning to round out our first marking period, and there's a lot of activities that are planned and a lot of things going on in the school district. So I'd like to highlight that Thursday evening, the middle school will be hosting a fall family festival, and on Friday, the Wallace School will be hosting a Hispanic Heritage Assembly. And I certainly would be remiss if I did not congratulate the Connor School community and their PTO for hosting a lovely and lively fall festival 2 weekends ago. It was really nice to see so many families come out and kids just having fun playing together on the playground and enjoying some activities and some snacks. As you know, our schools were closed this past week on Thursday and Friday for the NJEA convention. A team of our teachers attended the convention to learn and to network with one another, and they're sure to share that the experience was extremely beneficial. I would certainly like to inform the board that 2 of our staff members or teachers presented workshops at the convention, Ms. Danielle Miller, and also our very own Hudson County Teacher of the Year, Ms. Kathleen Terhune. So both of them were presenters at the convention. Today, I attended an all-day workshop in Paramus hosted by the New Jersey Consortia for Excellence Through Equity. The topic of the workshop today that was delivered by Elizabeth Williams-Riley, CEO for the American Conference on Diversity, was building more inclusive and affirming schools. The partnership with the NJCEE And the others that you're going to see on the agenda tonight, some of them new and some of them renewals, are extremely beneficial. And the workshop today was fantastic. So I'll share the materials with all of you as well. I'm proud to announce that over the past few weeks, our district's tech team, and when I say tech team, it's a team of staff members from multiple buildings, as well as district administration and our technology department, embarked upon the early planning stages of the Future Ready Schools initiative. There's a pledge on the agenda that I ask the board to support. We discussed this pledge in our committee meetings last week. The pledge actually is just basically giving us the green light for the team to move forward in self-assessing the state of technology in the district. There's multiple categories that we have to actually go through, and it's a point system giving us the ability to determine where we stand, where we can make improvements, and whether or not we'll be ready for the Future Ready designation that takes place at the end of the year into this summer. So this week's edition of the Herald will actually outline categories of the self-evaluation process for the Future Ready Schools initiative for those readers who might be interested. I'd also like to inform the board that we have applied for one grant last week, which was a Flex Math Fluency Grant. It's a middle school grant for online math fact fluency building. So we'll see whether or not we actually receive that grant. And I'm also in the process of preparing and involving some stakeholders on another grant, which would give us the opportunity to bring a visiting world language teacher into the school year next year to do a teacher in residence type program for both language and culture. And it looks like the areas that we could select from would be China, Mandarin Chinese, as well as Egypt and Morocco. It looks as if, because we already have Mandarin Chinese in the district, that we're leaning toward a visiting teacher from Morocco to set our sights on for targeting this particular grant. Finally, it's also this time each year that the superintendent is charged with reporting out the district's EVVRS data longitudinally. This report collects incidence data in the areas of violence, vandalism, weapons, substance abuse, and HIB data as well. As you can see on the paper that I put in front of each board member, as well as behind me. Robin, if you could just, you know what? I don't even think you have to do that. As well as the slides. So those of you who are at the table, there should be a paper in front of you. You can see the longitudinal trends and the analysis of incidences from 2012-13 to the 2016-2017 school year in each of the areas that are calculated and collected by the state of New Jersey. So if anyone has any questions regarding these categories, I'd certainly be happy to answer them or to provide any additional information for you. You can take a peek. Anyone have any questions related to this? Mr. McNamara, anything?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
It seems like a big increase in substance abuse reports, right, in 16, 17. Any background as to why?
Well, what we have found, so we have, as a school district, we have a full-time student assistance counselor, also known as a SAC. That's a form of a guidance counselor that also focuses on crisis management, substance abuse, and also self-inflicted injuries. Every school district in the state of New Jersey is required to have a student assistance counselor. Our student assistance counselor is extremely involved at all of the schools. She makes her way from all of our elementary schools to the high school. Last year, we just really had a focused, concerted effort on ensuring and letting our students know that the use of drugs and alcohol were not accepted and acceptable. We also did a lot of training with our staff to identify signs, symptoms, and also any kind of identifying characteristics. And as a result of that, the reports for the possibility of any kind of induced state are then written, calculated, and students are then sent for testing. And it's important for the board to know that if students do test positive, the result of that positive test is not disciplinary in nature. It's corrective, and it is a process for counseling and with the end result of assisting the student so that they are not on a path to addiction. And so as a result of that, we encountered some students, so you will see the number of substance abuse totals for this particular year, which was 10 for the 2016-17 school year. So out of our district of 1,750 students, our total count was 10. And just so that everyone is clear, these are 10 confirmed situations. So this isn't the reporting of, I just want to make sure from a transparency perspective, everyone understands that. That number 10 is a confirmed number, not a reported number. This is the same thing with the HIB data that's reported here. It's the number that's confirmed, not the number that's reported. Any others?
Thank you. That concludes your report?
It concludes my report.
Mr. Moffett, do you have a business administrator's report tonight?
No report at this time.
Thank you. Then we'll move on to committee reports, leading off with Ms. Delara for communications.
Sure. The Communications Committee met on November 6th at 12:30. In attendance were myself, Irene Sobolov, Mr. Madigan, and Mr. Kupfel, and Superintendent Dr. Johnson. The committee discussed the interactive district calendar, which is now up on our district website, and it is also up on our district app. It is electronic and interactive. Everything on the calendar is now linked. Each page highlights a different department within the district: athletics, special services, Project Lead the Way, and so on. Dr. Johnson also shared with the committee that all of the pre-K Talks in the Park sessions are completed, and very positive feedback has been received. Big thank you to Dr. Johnson and everyone else involved in this initiative. The next round of talks will be coming up within the next few weeks. These talks are going to be centered and more tailored to specific topics and specific grades. So just be on the lookout for the dates and how to register for those. Dr. Johnson shared with the committee that our Red Wing for a Day program currently has 30 students enrolled. If you don't know, the Red Wing for a Day is for all prospective 8th grade or transfer students that want to learn more about what Hoboken High School has to offer. Students join the guidance department for a tour of our facilities, an overview of our course programming, and connect with our student mentors to learn what it means to be a Red Wing. On October 30th, Hoboken High School attended the high school fair at Elysian Charter School. It was a very well-attended event, like it is every year, and we would just like to thank Elysian Charter School for always inviting us to this popular community event. And that concludes my community, my communications committee report. Sorry, a lot of C's, a lot of C's.
Thank you. Curriculum, Ms. Sobolov.
The Curriculum Committee met on Monday, November 6th. In attendance was Dr. Johnson, Mr. Klupfeld, Ms. Evans, Ms. Delara, and myself. There were no items on the agenda, but there was a lot to discuss, so I'll just highlight some here. The Passport to Learning, which is our after-school program, grades K to 6. There are over 450 students currently enrolled in that program across the district. There was some input from the staff, a parent advisory council, and a recent parent survey considering some other courses for next year, including celebrating cells, field to beat digital music, and stop motion animation. Explorations is the Hoboken Middle School after-school program, and that includes homework support, athletics, and the clubs. There's currently 62 students in there, and that can increase every week because the students can come in at different points. Some particularly popular programs right now include the Junior Model UN, the Cyber Patriots team, and the Junior Thespian Club. In the middle school athletics, track and field, which is cross-country, that has 17 members, and tennis has 14. The district has again partnered with Stevens STEP program to provide some homework support. In the elementary school, theater arts residency program is up and running in all the schools. The district is again partnering with Stevens to provide their Stevens Duckling STEM program to all 6th grade students. That program began on November 3rd. In the middle school, the band and music programs are up and running, and they meet at the 0 period and after school. At Hoboken High, there's a new partnership with Stevens in their ACES program. It stands for Access to Careers in Engineering and Science. This is a partnership with Stevens to encourage greater participation in these STEM college and career areas for underrepresented students. ACES will provide scholarships to our students to attend their summer residential engineering and science programs. The district is working with the National Project Lead the Way organization and multiple colleges and universities to provide a Project Lead the Way end-of-year assessment, which hopefully then could provide students with college credits or a course waiver. The Seal of Biliteracy application was approved. We've been accepted, and the district is working on a pilot where that seal will be recognized by colleges and universities also for either credit or a waiver. An update on the WISE financial literacy program. The personal finance course is part of the New Jersey core requirements, but at Hoboken High School, it's been combined with the WISE financial literacy program, and students can either gain credit or college waivers across the country. 53 students at the high school recently sat for their pre-assessment. Washington University in St. Louis will be holding their national chemistry tournament. 6 Hoboken High School students are going to be attending that competition in April. For district-wide news, the district will be joining other schools across the country participating in the UN 2030 Sustainable Development Goal, educational goal, to ensure inclusive and equality education for all and promote lifelong learning. To this end, the district will participate with something called Ignite, which is engaging humanity through education, and a partnership with International Coaching Federation and the Global Volunteers Project. District staff will attend the coaching and training sessions through the Federation, and the district will benefit because we'll have college students from around the world will be able to come and assist and volunteer in the schools. The Rutgers Academy of Social and Emotional Learning will be working with our staff. 7 members of our staff will become SECD certified, which is Social and Emotional and Character Development certified. We also in the district now have restorative justice, and the staff will be receiving a national certification in restorative justice practices. And in short, that focuses on mediation, repairing harm, and avoiding future offenses. That certified staff will then in turn turnkey the training to the rest of the staff. All deans, administrators, and guidance staff will be trained in November. And one last event, I just wanted to mention that the Hoboken High students and the Hispanic Culture Club will be attending the Ballet Hispanico at the Apollo Theater in New York. I think that's coming up soon. Thank you.
Can you bring it up later?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Soboleff. Mr. Madigan, Facilities.
Okay, Facilities Committee meeting was held on Monday, November 6th. In attendance was Ms. Angley, Mr. Klumfeld, Ms. Soboleff, Dr. Johnson, Mr. Callaghy, and myself. On the agenda, the only item we have is a facilities request from the City of Hoboken for basketball here at Demorest and also at Wallace School. We all approved because it's for the children of Hoboken. We also discussed the traffic problems at Wallace and Brandt, and it's an ongoing conversation which we're going to have probably with the City of Hoboken, either the police or the parking department, We have problems. We don't have driveways in our schools to drop off our children. It's a tough situation. So we're trying to come up with plans for that with the city, because it has to be with each other's cooperation and also our parents. And we also discussed it about an ongoing issue at Calabro School for the future on election days, if we want to have the voting machines in the building or not, but that's for an ongoing conversation because it's a smaller school. It's problematic that the kids only have one lunchroom and a gymnasium. It's not like a lot of our other buildings where we have a lunchroom or a gymnasium. So that's a discussion we're still in the middle of, and we have a little while with elections for that to decide that. And that's all on this issue.
Thank you. Ms. Angley, Finance.
The Finance Committee met on Monday, November 6th at 7:30. In attendance were Dr. Johnson, Mr. Moffett, Mr. Klepfel, Mr. Biancamano, Mr. McNamara, and myself. Our November bills and claims include Demarest construction costs and monthly payments to Hope, Smile Square, and the charter schools. We also have an off-cycle payment this month that is primarily related to medical benefits and transportation services. We have 2 tuition contracts on the agenda tonight. The first one is an amendment to a contract the board previously approved based on an amendment to an IEP, and the second is a new contract with a new school. We have one contract on the agenda with the Hoboken University Medical Center. This contract is a not-to-exceed amount of $15,000. So it doesn't mean we'll spend the $15,000, but that is what the contract amount is being approved up to. And this contract is primarily related to services provided to students upon recommendation by the district. And in addition, the hospital will provide training to our teachers and staff if need be. We have a few donations on the agenda tonight. We want to thank the Wallace PTO, who will fund admission fees for the kindergarten field trip to the Theater Works. The Oblo family is donating various classroom items to Miss Lake's second grade class at Calabro. And Mr. Matthew Dreyfus is donating a bass speaker to the Hoboken High School Music Department. Other items we discussed, the external auditors were back for a few weeks in October to wrap up the district audit and are working on a final draft. The Finance Committee will meet with the auditors to review the audit, which typically takes place in December, and then the auditors will present the full report to the board in early 2008. During the auditor's review and as part of the year-end close, the district will write off approximately $20,000 in unpaid lunch receivables. While this write-off will take place for accounting purposes, the district will continue to pursue reimbursement, and any monies collected will be recorded as revenue this year. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Evans, the Governance,
Okay.
Personnel.
The Governance and Personnel Committee met on November 6th. In attendance were myself, Ms. Sobolov, Mr. Klupfel, and Superintendent Johnson. We reviewed all agenda items and recommend all for approval tonight. I did just want to mention a few that generated discussion. We have 2 retirements on the agenda. Item 9.01, one of our paraprofessionals, Ms. Jewel Cole, is retiring after 12 years with the district. And also item 9.02, Ms. Jennifer Lopez is retiring. She's been with the district for 39 years. Most recently as the coordinator of grants and staff development, but before that she was there were many roles that she had in the district. To name a couple more, 28 years as a teacher, both of English and ESL, and also 6 years as director of reading programs. So we would like to thank both of them for their years of service to the district and wish them all the best as they move on to retirement. Item 9.13, we're approving the staff and volunteers for the high school musical, Spring Awakening. You'll see that there are many volunteers that we're approving, and we thank them for their support of the show and the students. Also, here are the dates so that you can mark your calendar. Friday, February 9th, Saturday, February 10th, and Sunday, February 11th. Item 9.15, we have a couple presentations. The Mayhem Poets are coming to the high school. They'll be performing for 11th and 12th graders, and then we'll also offer 2 writing workshops to smaller groups. This is a grant-funded program. And then at Calabro School, the kindergartners to 6th graders will enjoy a planetarium experience, and the PTO is bringing this event to the school. Item 9.16, we have another volunteer. We'd like to thank Ms. Jennifer Clow, who is going to be volunteering in the high school library. As both the superintendent and Ms. Sobolov mentioned, we'll be participating in Future Ready Schools, and item 9.23 is the resolution for us to participate. Item 9.25 are Dr. Johnson's merit goals for the current school year. They've been approved by the county superintendent, so we'll be approving those tonight. Then also, we also, in addition to agenda items, discussed, there had been a question about Saturday detention that had been on the agenda last month, and we discussed that it's used very minimally, as is actually detention at the high school overall. That instead of detention, we're using other methods such as restorative justice and conflict resolution. And finally, the first round of the administrative evaluation process has begun, and each administrator does a full evaluation 3 times each year. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions on committee reports?
Yes, just one. Just for the public's notice, all the volunteers are fingerprinted, correct? Before they'll be allowed to be with any children?
Correct, yes.
Did you want to clean that thing up about the...
The restorative justice. Just 2 items that came up on the committee report, just to ensure that we're clear in terms of who's trained and who's not trained. So in terms of restorative justice practices, we have 2 staff members in the district who are nationally certified trainers. Those 2 individuals are Derek Pacini and Steve Dickerson. There are 2 deans of students and programs at the high school. As a result of the 2 of them being nationally certified, they will then turnkey that training to deans, guidance counselors, and administrators across the district, so that the other schools can begin that training process as well, and utilizing that process in the other schools. And then the second one is just the Rutgers social and emotional learning certification. Our staff members, we had 7 staff members, guidance counselors from across the district, and 1 social worker from Connor School that participated in the training. It was a 2-day training process, and what will happen is as a result of them participating in those 2 days, they then will have the first round of what's necessary for a certificate from Rutgers in social and emotional learning strategies in the classroom. And so they'll continue that piece. And when they gain that certification, they will then turnkey that training to other staff members and counselors throughout the district to ensure that those practices are employed in our classrooms as well.
All right, thank you.
I have a question on the committee report for 9.23 on the future ready state. Just to be clear, the way this reads, it doesn't say we're assessing about hardware or sort of computer infrastructure. It's the learning programs that are associated with future infrastructure. Is there any plans to do sort of a hardware evaluation to make sure like the Wi-Fi works correctly, that sort of stuff?
So even though it's not written that way, there's, I believe there's 6 categories, and even though it's constructed this way, there are 2 out of the 6 categories that are dedicated specifically to just that. It is more focused on the learning side and the incorporation, but there are 2 fairly large categories that when you go through the self-evaluation process, it's about a 2 to 2.5 hour evaluation process for each category. So out of the 6, there's definitely one, and then there's another one that is really more about the infrastructure that's needed for tools in the classroom, not necessarily the backbone or the hardware, but there is one section that does do that.
Has there been any thought to like an independent evaluation of the hardware instead of a self-evaluation
So
to make
what-
sure that we're
So-
meeting the right standard?
Right, so what will happen first is, after we go through that, you submit it, and then Future Ready Schools will turn around and provide you with a report, and they will actually indicate whether or not, there'll be some recommendations. So if you fall in a certain area, it will actually tell you that they recommend bringing someone in to actually look at those things. So the first round is really just preliminary to see where we stand. It's not even the process to bring us to the application, it's just the first step.
Okay, thanks.
I do have a president's report tonight. And because of the way the second Tuesdays fell in October and November, it's been, I think, 5 weeks since our last board meeting. So there's been a lot of meetings, a lot of intense discussions, and an extra week thrown in there. So bear with me for a few minutes. First, I think we have to acknowledge that there was an election last week, and our Vice President, Sharon Angley, was reelected to a second term, and 2 new board members will be sworn in the first week of January in 2018. 3 weeks ago, Ms. Delara, Mr. Madigan, Ms. Sobolov, and I attended the New Jersey School Boards Association's annual conference, which is called Workshop 2017. I think for the most part, we split up. We didn't see each other too often during the day. And each attended different workshops over the course of the 4 days, trying to cover as many topics as possible. I happened to focus on sort of board governance, effective committee systems, superintendent evaluations, consensus building, Robert's rules. The workshop was also an opportunity to talk with other board members from other school districts, a chance to share ideas and experiences with them. I think we all came back energized and eager to apply what we learned to our board work here, and I would certainly recommend this experience. This is the first time for me because of work conflicts in previous years, but it's a commitment of a few days, but certainly worthwhile, and I would recommend it to all board members. Does anybody want to add anything? Mr. Madigan or Sheila?
Yeah,
Ms.
actually,
Sobolov?
when I brought the book, I wasn't sure if we were going to bring that up. It was a very interesting convention. There were over 250 courses that you could take or workshops that you could attend. And so, like, as Tom said, we were kind of busy, sometimes interacting or not. I took about 12 workshops, mostly on social emotional learning or consensus building, engaging the community, and board roles. I think it was really awesome to be able to speak to other, members. You see things in a different way, or maybe some things are similar. I think one of the nice things for me too was to hear that some of the recommendations that they were already giving were some things that we were already doing. So like the restorative justice was one of the recommendations, or kind of reaching out to your parents or doing a survey to the students. And one of the speakers was a gentleman from the Rutgers Academy of Social and Emotional Learning, so I was glad that we have a partnership with that, so that was very interesting to me. So it was a definitely worthwhile 3-day event.
While there, we also had some good discussions with our New Jersey School Boards Association field services rep, and I'm going to be recommending to the governance committee that we take advantage of the extensive, and we're paying for it anyway, free board training in the new year. I think it would be helpful for all board members.
Tom, if I can just add a little bit to that too. So this was my first year serving on the board, so it was really great to attend these 3 days of workshops. Just like Irene, I took about, I think, 13 different types of workshops, but it was nice because, there were so many different topics. And as most of you know, my heart is really with the special education topic, so I took a ton of those to just kind of learn about STEM and, and just kind of in relation to special education and how some courses can be modified, and then also learning about mindfulness and bringing that into the classrooms, and just kind of learning about how there's there's a lot of school districts that are already putting these programs into place. So it was a really great way to learn that these things are being done, and I know that, you know, we can work together to bring some of these initiatives into our schools as well. And it was great because then a couple weeks later, I sat for curriculum, and I learned about the Rutgers social and emotional training, which is interesting because I learned that the DOE is really pushing for this social and emotional learning this year. They have a full curriculum, and it's really all about restorative justice, and it's about teaching kids compassion, and it's about teaching kids, you know, just kind of be more in touch with their feelings and with their actions. So it was really nice to hear that the DOE is really focused on that, and that we are taking the right steps towards these initiatives. So it was a really great 3 days. I was very thankful to learn a ton, and I can't wait to do it again next year. So thank you.
I do want to let the board know that last week, Dr. Johnson, Mr. Callaghy, and I were invited to meet with the city's planning consultants as part of their work in preparing the city's 2018 Master Plan Reexamination Report. We had the chance to review district enrollment and demographic trends with them, as well as the facilities challenges that we'll be facing, that we've talked about in the past, you know, if enrollment continues at recent rates. So we were happy to be included in that discussion, in that early discussion, and look forward to future cooperation between the district and the city administration in terms of planning. That meeting came at a perfect time as it ties directly to the district analysis being done by Dr. Johnson and Mr. Fitzhugh at the request of the board's long-range facilities planning ad hoc committee, and which was shared with most of the board members a little over a week ago. This in-depth analysis examines not only the basic enrollment questions raised by the ad hoc committee, but also includes data regarding racial balance and imbalance on a school-by-school basis, things that have come up in board discussions, equal access to educational opportunities, diversity training for both staff and students, and hiring patterns in relation to diversity. Some board members did ask that we widen the analysis to include quantitative data relating to student socioeconomic factors and also to special needs populations before being presented publicly, and this is being undertaken now. In conjunction with the superintendent, I am going to be recommending that the board commit to a large-scale initiative to collect input from students, staff, parents, and the community at large to better understand our current realities and to plan for the future. I would call this baseline data should be complemented by qualitative data collected from stakeholder surveys on such topics as school climate and culture, school safety and social and emotional wellness, work environment, staff training and hiring practices are also important, educational opportunities and equitable access to programs, things that we looked at in that analysis, and diversity and cultural literacy across the curriculum, and the integration and application of 21st century skills at all grade levels. We've looked at some models of such surveys, and the information that we would gather would be analyzed in the advisory committees that the superintendent was recommending at our sort of board sessions a couple weeks ago, with an eye towards policy review and modification or policy development, and recommendations for actions such as implementation of new programs or the formation of new ad hoc committees or task forces like the one recently proposed by one of our school choice families, or the renewal of processes and protocols. So this is the time to take a look at all those efforts. In light of all this, I can assert that this board and its administration have been and will continue to be committed to equality, equity, racial and cultural celebration and literacy, inclusion, achievement, and expanding opportunities for all students. I think we're united on that in our discussions. I've asked the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, to continue collecting this additional data and to present a final report to the board by December 4th. That's preceding our next board meeting. And as a result of that, the report should also include a plan for the surveys that we're calling for. And then I'll be able to update the board and the public at the December board meeting on an action plan moving forward. And that concludes that report. Thank you.
On that issue, is there an action plan? Is there a problem that we need this issue? Because you're saying bringing an action plan. Usually an action plan, there's a problem.
Well, I think, well, no, not an action, no, an action plan doesn't need a problem. It's just
Okay.
what we're going to be doing moving forward in terms of the surveys, review of policies.
Okay.
We're looking for that baseline data.
We're doing a lot of work. I
Yeah.
mean, we still have a lot of
That's
education work to
that's why
go
I've been
on
well,
also.
that's why we've been
That we
talking
need
about
to
it a
hit
lot.
a lot of goals on our education problems
Yeah.
here, that we're here also to work with, okay? I just want to keep us focused on our,
This has all been done in conjunction with the superintendent.
I know, I understand that, but I'm hearing more than I heard in our meeting that we had
Yeah.
last week. This was more than me and you spoke on the phone, and then we spoke in that meeting also.
Okay,
That's all I'm bringing up. If there's a problem, I'd like to know if there was issues.
no problem.
Okay.
Just a lot of topics, whether we act on them or not. I think that's what we're doing.
No, I
is just
understand, but...
identifying the
But
issues.
the way it came out to me, I'm hearing it different than maybe you're saying it, Tom. But
Okay.
I wanted to know, was there an issue that we had to be aware of or concerned about?
No.
That's all, okay. As long as I'm hearing that for you, that's all. Thank you.
It's time then for public comments on agenda items. Mr. Moffett?
One speaker for agenda items only. It's Courtney Wicks.
Hi, good evening. I just have two things. One, just to address restorative justice. And to Board Member Jen Evans' report about discipline, and that it's not used as, or detention isn't used as much as they say it has been. The only thing I would say about that, I can only go from my kids' experience last year, so I don't know if there's been changes from last year to this year. But there are a lot of things like lunch detention, which may not be recorded in the data, which is if a kid gets in trouble during the day, they're relegated to a lunch detention table. The other thing in terms of discipline is privileges being revoked. I'm not sure if that's recorded in the data. And then in terms of restorative justice, it's a great way to address a better way for kids to resolve their issues. But overall, if there are kids already in the system, and usually kids are already in the system when they're really young, meaning, you know, they've had disciplinary issues starting in the elementary school all the way up, it doesn't really solve for that. And when you look at discipline policy, whether it's Hoboken or you look across the country, it really does kind of mirror the criminal justice system, which is if a kid gets in trouble, right, for, I don't know, throwing a pencil, and that kid is sort of deemed a troublemaker, the next time that kid gets in trouble, it escalates. And then they're in the system going forward. So they're constantly, you know, if they get in trouble 3 times, the next time they get in trouble, they might get suspended. So it racks up. And so I wouldn't just say that detention in general or restorative, because they're obviously combined, that they may not be, I don't know if the numbers reflect all the different ways that discipline impacts kids throughout the district. And I'm not also sure if restorative justice, without sort of fixing the overall disciplinary policy and how we deal with kids from the time that they're little all the way up, if it's actually going to make an impact once they get older, right? Because they're still going to always be, they're still going to be the same kids facing disciplinary issues, and they're still going to be the same kids that are going to have to go through restorative justice. And I think the goal is to prevent kids, to help kids deal with conflict resolution better, and to make sure that they're not in the system, quote unquote. The other thing I see on the agenda, 8.3, approval of new membership and partnership with New Jersey Community Schools Coalition. And so I took a look at that, and I would only say that in my experience working on education issues on a state level, when we talk about community schools coalition and creating hubs and communities, that work is primarily being done in communities, poor communities of color, right? And so, and it's a response to the closing of existing public schools and replacing them with charter schools. So as you look at that as a partnership, we kind of fit in that, but we kind of don't fit in that, if that makes sense, okay? Because we have, I guess, one school, right, that's predominantly kids of color that kind of fit into that mold. But when you think of hubs around that are creating, or schools that are hubs for communities, you don't really have the same problems in wealthier districts. You only really have this problem when you have the closing of existing public schools and the opening of charter schools. So, I mean, that was really only my concern in terms of trying to create a more inclusive school, or a more inclusive district, that I'm not sure, I'm sure there's some things that'll be beneficial, but overall, from a strategic standpoint, I'm not sure if we quite fit in that. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. No other speakers?
No other speakers.
In that case, we can move on and ask for a motion on the consent agenda.
Motion?
Second.
That was Ms. Evans and Ms. Sobolov at the second. The consent agenda has been moved. Any discussion? And seconded. Any discussion? Mr. Murphy, you want to call the roll?
Yes, sir. Ms. Angley,
Yes.
Ms. Delara,
Yes.
Ms. Evans,
Yes.
Mr. Madigan,
Okay, 601 and 6.01 and 6.02 abstain, and 10.07 abstain. Ready?
yes on all other?
No. 10.05 no, and 10.08 no, and everything else yes.
Mr. McNamara,
Yes.
Ms. Sobolov,
Yes.
and Mr. Klupfel.
I must abstain on item number 10.04 and then vote yes on everything else.
Resolution passes.
Resolution passes. That takes us to public comments on agenda and non-agenda items. Are there any speakers?
I have it looks like a grant, S-A-H-A-S. Did I get that right? Seha, thanks.
For the record, please state your name and your address.
Sure. Grant Sahag, 218 Jackson Street.
Thank you.
Hope you guys are having a good night. Thanks for letting me speak. So obviously I live in the 4th Ward. I've lived here for about 4 years and more involved in the community over the last year. It's been exciting to get a lot more involved in Hoboken. Some of that's getting involved with the school district. I've worked with some of the students and some of the teachers at Hoboken High, including Dr. Dalia, Juliana Addy, with the aquaponics lab. That is just amazing. You guys are really excited to see all the things that you guys are doing in the district. Sharon Melinda, and recently with Tamika Collins as well over at Connors. So really have been excited about getting involved. I want to just kind of share two offers with you as a board and to just the rest of the district in general. The first is, I'm speaking for two audiences. An audience maybe that's not normally here at school board meetings, that is young professionals in their 20s and 30s that have no kids, thus you would think have no interest in being involved with the district. I'd like to pose to the board, and I've spoken and I've gotten to know some of the board members and other people, as I've mentioned before. I've started to talk a little bit more about this. I think that there is a large group of young professionals that want to get involved with the district. And I'd love to talk at a policy level and then continue to talk at an operational level with those folks that I've talked about, including principal over at the high school, on how we can develop ongoing partnerships to get that demographic involved. There's such a swath of skill set there. And I'd love to see continuity between the high schoolers, Stevens, which I know you already do a good amount of work with, that young professionals, and then leading into the young families. Because the more likely you get someone like me involved, the more likely I'm go to the football games, which I have, the more likely I'm go to all the different events that you have, and the more likely I'm going to want to stay in Hoboken and add to the richness of longevity here for sort of new Hoboken. And I consider myself part of that. So I'd like to sort of pose very general to you guys that there is a group of young professionals that want to use their resources for good, and they want to use it specifically in the school district. So really it's just sort of a PSA, I guess, to say I'm looking forward to further conversations about that discussion. The second audience I speak from is the tech community. So I run an advisory and community firm that works with small business technology companies and is very focused on entrepreneurship. So I'd like to again pose to the board, something that I've posed to individuals at the administrative level as well, of how we as a tech community can get further involved with your district. So we are currently, my group is rolling out a bunch of incubators, business incubators and accelerators throughout Hudson County. So one of them is at Mission 50. Tech incubators and accelerators for early stage startups is a massive win for any region where that happens. And the effect on the rest of the economy is significant. So we're seeing that a lot in Brooklyn, we're seeing that certainly in Manhattan, and our goal is to bring that to Hudson County. But we want to go beyond just your traditional tech incubator. We want to integrate every sector in our community. And so that comes down to government, right? It comes down to the corporations in town. It comes to entrepreneurial networks like co-working spaces. So my partner we're partnering with Mission 50, which is a co-working space here in town, or at least the most well-known one. And we're developing this curriculum. We would love to see that curriculum implemented in the high school as well. We're looking at partnering with Stevens, and so this sort of collaborative effort at engaging a community of, and if we look at the statistics at all of the meetings we go to, we know that we're still a pretty young community, and I believe it's increasing when it comes to youth. And so and when I say youth, 20 and 30-year-olds. So how do we engage that community that, again, wants to get involved with the school district and develop not only short-term engagements, right? I think the Lunchbox series and all the things that you do are great, but what are the long-term partnerships in addition to Stevens and so on? So I'm, again, offering up to you guys that there are people that may not come to these meetings. I don't think they'll come to these meetings moving forward, but my hope is that I can be a voice to you folks, that there's a group of people that want to provide that public benefit because it really does circulate and benefit the whole. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts on behalf of the district children.
Next speaker I have is Lee Pizer.
Good evening, Lee Pizer, 3611 Park Avenue. I hope everybody's well. Tom, thank you very much for your report tonight. I think you saved me about 15 minutes of speaking because I'm afraid that the more I come, the more turned off people become when I mention the idea of diversity and inclusion, so I don't want to do that. And so I'm glad that you seem to be embracing it as a board, that you understand that it's important that we look at these things, whether we perceive things to be right or wrong. It's good to do a self-assessment or to have some outside look at ourselves and not be afraid of that, and not be afraid to have a public discussion about that and include the surveying and the discussions about how people are feeling at all levels of the community and with the community at large. So again, thank you very much for talking about that. And Dr. Johnson, thank you for following through on that. The only thing I would add, actually I'm not going to. I had two other points I wanted to make away from diversity and inclusion, even though I did send a resolution, which you should have gotten, just a sample resolution, sort of embodying what we think you should consider, okay? I had two other questions, and they're related to, one's related to sports, which is the Musco lighting and the upgrade to the JFK Stadium, which was planned and budgeted for through Musco Lighting. Is there any update that you could share with the community about that? And second is, will there be a girls lacrosse team this spring, JV and varsity? And do you plan to have a boys lacrosse program this spring? Because I know we missed it last spring. Those are my questions to you, and if you want to answer them, I'd be happy to step away.
We'll address it at the end.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Courtney Wicks. Then it is a Jackie Dowd.
Good evening. Hi, I'm Jackie Dowd Prince with the Hoboken Public Education Foundation. I'm here on behalf of our entire board to really thank the community for their awesome support this year for our organization. We're really thrilled that support for our organization has continued to increase. And that support has come from many areas, from parents, from business owners, from teachers, administrators, and I think community members who just understand that, strong public schools are good for everyone. So we just really want to thank everyone for that. I think many of you know we had an awesome year in terms of financials. We raised $130,000 in net proceeds this year. And I just wanted to share with you some of the things that we are funding in the district with that money. We are funding, or we did fund, the second annual Hoboken Schools Leadership Retreat, the Trout in the Classroom program, the Newsella Literacy Initiative for all schools. A lot of these are all schools, by the way. I'll identify when they're not. Novel and Level Literature Library, off-site learning experiences. That's for K through 5. That's basically field trips. iClickers for social sciences for the middle school. Global Conflict and Resolution Challenge for grades 6 through 12. And lastly, Newmark keyboards for Wallace and for the high school. And if you want to know more about that, please visit our website. We have some detailed information about the things we're funding. But I also want to say that we have set our sights even higher for this third year, and we need the increased, again, community support to get there. And I want to reiterate that there's many ways for people to get involved. We always take donations, tax deductible. 100% of the proceeds go to the district's children. But there's other ways too. Just join our newsletters. You can get on our website. Get involved, understand what we're doing. Come to our events. We have our Mom's Night Out in February and our Big Gala in May. And volunteer. We're always looking for volunteers to help us with our events. And that's really it. You can, again, visit our website for more information, like us on Facebook, check us out on Twitter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Chitali Khanna.
Good evening, Chitali Khanna, 2nd and Madison. Just one thing I wanted to inform everybody. This is a personal favorite of mine, a favorite event that the Wallace PTO holds every year. It's our international night, and it really showcases the diversity of our community's cultures and traditions. We will have entertainment. There will be food, like appetizers, that will hopefully represent the different countries. We're going to have tables that represent different countries that, the parents will help out. So whether you're from Belgium, France, South Africa. So it is December 1st, I believe that's a Friday, and it's from 6 o'clock to 8. So I hope, that each of you could definitely attend. It would be great. And lastly, I look forward to joining you guys in January. Thank you.
Next speaker is Melanie Takirian.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Just one quick thing I wanted to say. I really thought it was terrific that we added teacher recognition this evening. That was really wonderful to hear about the accomplishments of a particular teacher and what they're bringing to the table, and how, in this particular case, really going above and beyond for our students with respect to the STEM programs across the district. And I think it's great that we are always recognizing our students, and I think we all enjoy that part of this meeting very much. But a really nice addition is the teacher recognition. So thanks, Dr. Johnson, for adding that. And just like Chitali, I just wanted to say, looking very forward to joining all of you in the new year. So thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. Did you want to respond?
Okay, so the lighting, I'm actually going to see if either Mr. Moffett or Mr. Calgi could assist on the lighting question, and then I can certainly respond to the sport-oriented question regarding lacrosse.
Mr. Callaghan, do you have any updates?
Lighting was included in our 5-year plan, not necessarily last summer, probably this coming summer. And the evaluation with Musco Lighting is still going on. Should be a summer program this coming year. That's really the only update right now.
Thank you, Mr. Callaghan.
Okay, so then in terms of the question regarding lacrosse, I'll start with the girls' question. So absolutely, there will be a girls' lacrosse program, and the levels of our sports teams are determined by the number of students that are actually participating. So our hope and our intent is that there will be both a junior varsity team and a varsity team. In terms of boys lacrosse, very kind of excited to say that we have hired some new staff members this year that just happen to have lacrosse backgrounds and have coached varsity lacrosse in some different high schools, which is great because that gives us a little bit more flexibility in terms of adding sports programs. We did a survey last year of our students and had a pretty good sense of approximately how many kids would be interested in participating, but we have a whole new freshman group of students as well. So it's usually December. Last year we started a little bit late, which is what caught us behind the 8 ball, but throughout the month of December and into early January, Derek England, our athletic director, will start planning for our sports programs, and he will actually determine whether or not there's enough students that will participate or can participate in boys lacrosse. If that is the case, then I'll bring that to the curriculum committee of the board for consideration of whether or not that's a program that we would add. But I think at this point, pretty much all of our sports programs as long as they fall within the budget that we have allocated for athletics. It should not be a problem, considering that we're always shifting varsity, junior varsity programs. In terms of lighting, one of the things that I will say is that Mr. England and I have talked about the fact that while it would be fantastic to operate both home and away games for a varsity boys lacrosse program, it's not 100% necessary. If we did decide to, it would be fantastic, and moving forward, that is what we want to do and we will do with the lighting on the field, but it's not 100% necessary to get a program up and running. A lot of high schools, particularly small high schools, start their sports programs as away-oriented programs just to get it off the ground and to see what kind of participation. So we did have I believe there was a lacrosse clinic that was planned a couple weeks ago, but I think it rained on that Saturday, and I know that they are planning to advertise that particular clinic. One of my recommendations was just to more widely advertise the program and also to connect the concept of the clinic with the actual potential of a high school program. So with that being said, I won't be able to give with certainty whether or not there will in fact be a program in the spring, but it would certainly be wonderful if we had enough kids, and if we did, we're going to do everything possible to make it happen.
Good, thank you. That includes most of the public business. We are going to go into executive session now for, I'm told, 10 minutes.
Before we go into closed session, could I say something?
Of course.
Just I'd like to thank Jennifer Lopez for her time for the district. Very hard work, and I met Jennifer maybe 14, 15 years ago. I ran a volunteer basketball program throughout our district for the primary schools. And first time I met her, she was in her class as I was handing out leaflets about the program. And she made sure, she got back to me with each child that if they were going to come or not going to come, and she made sure they brought them home to her parents and explained what the program was. That was my first meeting with her, and I got to know her pretty good. She was a hard-working teacher, and then she went to central office and worked hard. She was here a long time. Also, her family tree, her father was a school teacher in our district also before her. So I'd just like to give her a big thank you for all her years of service.
Thank you, John. So we will go into executive session, and we'll return simply to adjourn the meeting. There'll be no action taken. Some people are obligated to stay, but I can't think of a compelling reason to ask anybody else to. So I move that we go into executive session for the purpose of a legal brief, and that's
I would describe it as pending litigation.
pending litigation. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 I move that we come back from executive session.
Yes.
You have a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I move that we close.
Motion.
Second.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.